This is Top Accolade Global News Updates. I am Soibifa Jakarich. 24 Israeli soldiers were killed in the Gaza Strip, the military said on Tuesday, the biggest Israeli death toll in a single day of the war against Hamas, as Israel pressed on with its biggest ground assaults so far in 2024. Israeli military spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said 21 soldiers were killed in an explosion when two buildings they had mined for demolition collapsed after militants fired grenades at a nearby tank. Earlier, the military said 3 soldiers were killed in a separate attack in southern Gaza. The deaths came as Israeli forces mount their biggest ground campaign of the new year, pushing deep into the western part of Khan Younis, the main city in the south of Palestinian enclave, near areas shouting hundreds of thousands of people who fled other parts of the enclave. Gazans say Israeli blockade and storming of hospitals since Monday left the wounded and dead beyond the reach of rescuers as fighting escalated in the crowded city. Israel has vowed to wipe out Hamas, the Palestinian Islamic movement that rules Gaza, and has sworn to Israel's destruction, whose fighters stormed across the fence into Israel, killing 1,200 people and adopting around 250 hostages on October 7th. At least 25,295 Gazians have since been confirmed killed, according to Palestinian authorities, with 1,000 more dead, feared lost in rubble in Israel's campaign, which has laid most of the enclave to waste. Russia unleashed its latest mass airstrike on Ukraine, local officials said on Tuesday, killing several people and wounding about 55 others. The early morning missile attack mostly targeted the country's 2 largest cities, the capital Kyiv and Kharkiv in the east. At least 2 people were killed and 35 wounded in Kharkiv in strikes on apartment buildings, according to police and the regional governor. Reports varied about the exact number of dead and injured. Kyiv city officials said up to 18 had been wounded after strikes on 3 districts, adding that several apartments has caught fire in the attack. There were also clarifying reports of 1 fatality. Officials in the northern region of Sunny also said critical infrastructure had been damaged by a missile strike on the city of Shoska. Russia, which did not immediately comment on the attack, has carried out regular airstrikes on cities and civilian infrastructure far behind the front line of its nearly 2-year-old invasion of Ukraine. Moscow had accused Kyiv on Sunday of shelling the Russian-occupied eastern Ukrainian city of Donetsk, killing 27 people. Ukraine forces said Russia bore responsibilities for the attack. US and British forces carried out a fresh round of strikes on Monday in Yemen, targeting a Houthi underground storage site as well as missile and surveillance capabilities used by the Iran-aligned group against Red Sea shipping, the Pentagon said. The Houthi, who control the most populous part of Yemen, have said their attacks are in solidarity with Palestinians as Israel strikes Gaza. The Houthi attacks have disrupted global shipping and stoked fears of global inflation. They have also deepened concerns that fallout from the Israel-Hamas war could destabilize the Middle East. In the latest response, US and British forces carried out strikes at 8 different locations in Yemen with support from Australia, Bahrain, Canada, and the Netherlands. According to a joint statement signed by the 6 countries, a senior US military official speaking on conditions of anonymity said roughly 25 to 30 munitions were fired, some of them from warplanes launched from a US aircraft carrier. So far, 8 rounds of strikes over the past month have failed to stop Houthi attacks against shipping. US officials say the strikes have degraded the Houthi ability to carry out complex attacks, but they have declined to offer any specific numbers of missiles, radar, drones, or other military capabilities destroyed so far. Last week, the Houthi fired 2 anti-ship ballistic missiles at a US-owned tanker ship that hit the water near the vessel but caused no injuries or damage. Container vessels have been pausing or diverting from the Red Sea, which leads the Suez Canal, the fastest freight route from Asia to Europe. Many have taken the longer route around Africa instead. British businesses are warning of a new wave of post-Brexit trade disruption because EU exporters are not ready for UK customs changes, which starts this month, and Britain's port infrastructure might be unprepared too. Britain left the European Union's single market in January 2021, but it has repeatedly delayed imposing checks on EU imports. But by contrast, the EU immediately enforced its rules, leading to port delays in 2021 and prompting some British exporters, such as cheese makers and high-end beef farmers, to give up on selling on the bloc, at least initially. Make UK representing manufacturers said in December that 90% of firms it surveyed still faced problems doing business with the EU, with customs and clearance the biggest barrier. Macro Foguwan, Director General of the Institute of Exports and International Trade, representing UK importers, said large EU firms would probably cope with Britain's new rules, but smaller ones, such as specialist food exporters, might struggle. China's gaming regulator has removed from its website rules it proposed last month aimed at curbing spending and rewards that encourage playing video games. The link to the draft rules on the National Press and Publication Administration (NPPA) website was inaccessible as of Tuesday morning after having worked on Monday. The consultation period on the rules, which sparked market turmoil when they were first announced, expired on Monday. The removal was described by analysts as unusual, with some saying a revision could be in store. The NPPA did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the reason for the removal, who said previous regulatory measures seeking options had a track record of staying on the government website even after the consultation period ended. Shares in Tencent Holding opened new tab. The world's biggest gaming company and its closest rival, NetEase, opened new tab, rose as much as 6% and 7% in morning trading respectively. The two companies' shares were still up more than 4% at noon against a 2.4% increase in Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index. Opens new tab. The draft rules, which propose setting spending limits for online games, had sparked panic among investors, wiping off nearly $80 billion in market value from China's two biggest gaming companies when they were announced. Analysts also at the time said the plans brought the risks of potential regulatory change back to the fore in the minds of investors, hurting confidence at a time when the government has been trying to boost private sector investment to spur the economy. That is the size of Top Accolade Global News Updates. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Tuesday.